Welcome back everyone to studying for nursing school, and today we'll be talking about the respiratory system. We know that every living thing requires oxygen for survival. Humans can live for days without water and for weeks without food, but they can only survive a few minutes without air. The respiratory system's primary function is to bring oxygen into the body in exchange for carbon dioxide. As shown in the following image, organs of the respiratory system include the nose, nasal cavity, mouth, larynx, the pharynx, lungs, and diaphragm. The respiratory organs can be divided into the upper and lower respiratory tract. The upper respiratory tract includes the nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. The trachea, bronchus, and lungs belong to the lower respiratory tract. And the lower respiratory tract, again, is the trachea, bronchus, and lungs. The nasal cavity is what opens to the nose. The nose and nasal cavity warm and moisten air as a person breathes. As a defensive mechanism, tiny nose hairs and mucus produced by the epithelial mucosa cells in the nose help prevent particles in the air from entering the lungs. Behind the nasal cavity is the pharynx. Both food and air pass through this long tube. Just below the pharynx is the larynx, or voice box. It channels air to the trachea and pushes food past the epiglottis. The epiglottis is which covers the trachea during swallowing to prevent food from entering the lungs. Once food passes the epiglottis, it moves towards the esophagus. When air reaches the trachea or windpipe, it travels down a long tube that branches into bronchi. The bronchi enter the lungs, as shown in the image. The bronchi branch into bronchioles before reaching tiny air sacs in the lung called alveoli. Gas exchange occurs in the alveolar region. The diaphragm is a muscle that plays a large role in breathing. It is found at the base of the lungs and spreads across the bottom of the rib cage, forming the chest cavity. The human body has two lungs that vary in size and weight. The right lung, which is larger and heavier, has 3 lobes. The left lung has 2 lobes. Here's a question. Which organ uses hairs to filter out particles that try to enter the lungs? Is it A, alveoli, B, bronchus, C, larynx, or D, nose? The correct answer is D, the nose, because it is part of the upper respiratory tract and because it is the site where air enters the body. Nose hairs help prevent airborne particles from entering the lungs. Respiratory functions and breathing mechanisms. Recall that the primary function of the respiratory system is to provide oxygen and to remove carbon dioxide from the body. In addition to gas exchange, the respiratory system enables a person to breathe. Breathing or inhalation is essential to life. It is a mechanism that provides oxygen to the body. Without oxygen, cells are unable to perform their functions necessary to keep the body alive. The primary muscle of inspiration is the diaphragm, known as the chest cavity. This dome-shaped structure flattens when it contracts. The rib cage moves outward, allowing outside air to be drawn into the lungs. During relaxation, the diaphragm returns to its dome shape, and the rib cage moves back to its natural position. This causes the chest cavity to push out air out of the lungs. The respiratory system can be functionally divided into 2 parts. We have the air conducting portion. Air is delivered to the lungs. This region consists of the upper and lower respiratory tract, specifically the larynx, trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. The second portion is gas exchange. Gas exchange takes place between the air and the blood. This portion includes the lungs, alveoli, and capillaries. Oxygen from the air enters the body through the respiratory system, but the cardiovascular system circulates oxygen throughout the body via the blood. The anatomical structure allows blood to absorb oxygen and transport it through a network of blood vessels to cells and various tissues throughout the body. During the process of gas exchange, the blood system absorbs carbon dioxide from cells and carries it to the respiratory system, where it is exhaled from the body. The respiratory system works closely with both the cardiovascular and nervous systems to maintain blood gas and pH homeostasis. The body must regulate blood pH levels. When there is too much carbon dioxide in the blood, it is acidic. That is, its pH value is too low. If there is not enough carbon dioxide in the blood, it will be too alkaline. Its pH value will be too high. Okay, and we have a question here. What structure is directly involved in gas exchange? Is it A, alveolus, B, bronchiole, C, pharynx, D, trachea? The correct answer is A. The alveolus is a tiny air sac found in the lung, and its primary function is to help the respiratory system perform gas exchange. And to spell that, that is A-L-V-O-L-U-S. Okay, the mechanics of respiration. The process of gas exchange between the outside air and the body is called respiration. It occurs on two levels, internal and external. External respiration occurs between the lungs and blood. When a person inhales, alveoli fill with oxygen through diffusion. Oxygen content is much higher than carbon dioxide levels, while in the alveoli region, blood becomes oxygen-rich. Once oxygenated, the blood leaves the lungs and travels through the left side of the heart, where it is pumped into circulation. Internal respiration occurs between the blood tissues. Once blood enters circulation, it reaches the capillaries. Oxygen diffuses through the capillaries into the cells. Carbon dioxide diffuses from the cells into the capillaries. Because carbon dioxide content is higher than oxygen content in blood at this point, it is called oxygen-poor blood. This oxygen-poor blood travels to the right side of the heart. It moves through the pulmonary circuit, where external respiration begins. Okay, and we have another question here. What happens during internal respiration? Is it A, air is inhaled into the body? B, oxygen-rich blood travels to the heart? C, air moves into and out of the pulmonary circuit? Or D, oxygen is exchanged for carbon dioxide in circulation? The correct answer is D. During internal respiration, oxygen-poor blood is created as oxygen diffuses into the cells and exchanged for carbon dioxide. Okay, and we'll just review what we just went over in this section. The respiratory system supplies oxygen to the body and removes carbon dioxide. Blood pH levels are regulated by the respiratory, cardiovascular, and nervous systems. Respiratory organs are anatomically divided into the upper and lower tract. Breathing is a mechanical process that provides oxygen, which is essential to all living things. Internal respiration involves gas exchange between blood and body tissues. External respiration is a gas exchange that happens between blood and the lungs. Okay, and that is all for this lesson. The next time we'll be talking about the gastrointestinal system. I'm hoping to start uploading about 3 times per week, probably Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It'll all be different topics, and I'll keep this going for way after I'm even done with school. I haven't even gotten into nursing school yet, but I'm hoping to soon. I just have to take the TEAS test, which allows me to get into the program and start learning. So I hope you have a good day. If you liked what you heard, please don't forget to leave a rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Or if it's YouTube, you can just leave a like or a dislike if you didn't like it. And leave a comment with any constructive criticism about what I can do better for next time.